Hey BookTube. So in one of my last videos I had mentioned that I had ordered some books and they were supposed to arrive today. So I'm going to do a little book haul here for you. I'm also including two books that I had ordered a while back that uh, were fairly recent orders, but it's been a few weeks, so I thought I'd include those as well. So I'll talk about the two books that were ordered a little bit longer ago, and then I'll talk about the ones I got today. So up first is The Iceshirt, a novel by William T. Vollmann, and this is part of a seven book. No, wait, sorry. I don't know how many books there are in this series, but it's volume one of Seven Dreams, a book of North American landscapes. And so this book starts out in the 10th century AD. The newcomers are proud and bloody-minded people whose kings are once changed themselves into wolves. The Norse have advanced as implacably as a glacier from Iceland to the wastes of Greenland, and from there to the place they call Vinland the Good. And so it is following the Norse people, and it talks a lot about the Norse myths and sagas, and it's also kind of a modern travelogue of these people as they are traveling and exploring new lands. I actually heard about this series on Big Al Books channel, Alex, and so I thought I would check this out. And so I got a copy of it, like I said, a couple weeks ago, I think. So that's the first book. The second book I got is a new release, and that is The Other Bennet Sister by Janice Hadlow. So full disclosure, I am not a big Austen fan. I know that's heresy, but I've never gotten into her books that much. I've read Pride and Prejudice and I've read Emma, and that's about it. I absolutely detested Emma as a character. She was horrible. Pride and Prejudice, whatever. So anyway, it's kind of a shocker that I got this, but it sounds interesting because it focuses on Mary Bennet, who was sort of the, I don't know, outcast, I guess, in Pride and Prejudice. And this is what would have happened to her had her life taken a different path than the one that was laid out for her in Pride and Prejudice. And so I'm curious to read this and see, especially considering that Mary was the more like bookish, nerdy sister. So I think maybe I'll enjoy this more than I do the actual Jane Austen novels, which I have just never been able to get into. So that's my other book that I ordered a while back. Move on now to the four books that I got in the mail today. The first one is a Europa Press edition, which I think is absolutely beautiful. And it is Like a Sword Wound by Ahmet Altan. And this is a Turkish author. And this is part of a quartet that this author has written. And it spans several tumultuous decades at the turn of the 20th century, during which the Ottoman Empire collapsed and the Young Turks Revolution laid the foundations for the Turkish Republic. And so this is book one in this quartet. I'm hoping I'll enjoy this and I can get the other books in this series. As I mentioned, I think in a previous video, I'm fascinated by the country of Turkey. It's one of the places I would like to visit someday. And so I've read several other Turkish authors. My favorite is Elif Shafak. But I wanted to try this out, and I was on Europa Press's website the other day, and I saw this, and I was like, I have to buy this, because it just sounded like something that I would really enjoy. And the Europa Press editions are amazing. It has the French flaps on both the back and front, and this is just a really cool cover. So I'm really excited to get to this one. Next up is the reason why I had placed an order in the first place, and that is for Martha Wells' new book, Network Effect. This is the Murderbot novella. I love Murderbot. Murderbot is my, like, I don't know, my kin. And so, yes, if you don't know who Murderbot is, Martha Wells wrote a collection of novellas, or a series of novellas, where the main character is Murderbot. It's a sentient AI who doesn't really like people that much. It doesn't like feelings, and they would prefer to watch its shows. Um, but it ends up in situations where it ends up caring for people, and it's sort of dilemmas when it comes to that. Something that any introverted person can kind of relate to. It's just a fun series, and I was so excited for this novel to come out. So yes, definitely a bright spot amid the coronavirus is New Murderbot. Next up is another relatively new release, and that is Daughter from the Dark by Marina and Sergei Dyachenko. This is not a sequel, but it's the second book from these authors who also wrote Vita Nostra, which is a book that was translated from the Russian that I read. I don't remember if it was last year or the year before, and I really enjoyed it. It was just completely weird. The cover or the blurbs on Vita Nostra compared it to Harry Potter. Said it was like a darker Harry Potter, which there were a few things that you could kind of see would have been related to Harry Potter, like the fact that the main character goes to a boarding school, but it wasn't really, in my opinion, a Harry Potter novel in the sense that they were saying it was. This one, it follows two characters, DJ Aspirin and Alanya. And Alanya is a musical prodigy, and she's also, well, no one's really sure who she actually is, but she claims she's a musical prodigy. And it talks about how these two characters were brought together, and it'll probably be dark and weird and magical like Vita Nostra was, and I'm excited to get to it. And again, this cover is really cool too. And then the last book that I have for this haul is a nonfiction book. This is one I saw on Steve Donahue's channel, and it is a massive beast of a thing. It's The Framers' Coup, The Making of the United States Constitution by Michael J. Klarman. And this is a book that talks about the origins of the Constitution. The first line on the back says, "Most Americans revere their Constitution, yet know relatively little about its origins." And so this is based on a lot of research, and it's told largely through the participants' voices, and it reshapes our understanding of the founding era. So I think this will be really interesting. I'm currently reading a book, Founding Brothers, which is also talking about the founding fathers and the era in which our country was founded. So I think this will be a good companion to that, especially because it's a lot bigger than Founding Brothers. This is probably something I won't be reading right away because I have another nonfiction book coming that I want to read first. But yeah, this is one I'll be getting to at some point, and it'll probably take me a while, even though I love to read nonfiction. Okay, so those are all of the books that I have in this book haul. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know in the comments if you have read any of these books or if you're wanting to read any of these and what you thought of them, and I will talk to you again soon. Thanks, BookTube.